Yeah, it's interesting to think of. Okay, if someone's putting that out, is this real, or is there an AI industry lobbyist that is having these things put out to kind of, And I definitely try to stay as far away from the tinfoil hats, but I mean, I hope I hope that's the case. That really is how much, because you think it's going to be a much bigger number considering how many people are building into this, and it's governments, it's corporations, it's everyone building data centers that are really going to be sucking power. So I guess
Yeah.
one part on that in general. No, sorry, to transition a little bit from AI is some of the things that might be even holding us back. Like, are we able to not make? Sorry, are we able to make kind of corporate or public policy that are around saving electricity in ways that maybe might be a little bit wasteful? Like, I'll give really basic examples. Like in Europe, in a lot of corporate offices you walk into a bathroom, the light turns on automatically. You walk out, it turns off. Even if you're in a stall and you're not moving for long, it turns off. You got to wave. Like, these are things that you would think in 2025 would be pretty normal.
Yeah.
And again, I see them everywhere in Spain, but I don't often see them anywhere in North America. These are fluorescent
Yeah.
lights that are blasting from 6 a.m. till 1 a.m. that are
Yeah.
not turning off. No one's using it for half the time. Um, I mean, is that part of the conversation right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple points on this. First of all, I mean, I was thinking of the other day, I'm in Chicago, so there was an office building where they had the lights on, I think on purpose, right? No one's working in the office. It's just to keep the lights
Right.
on so that people can see looks like something's happening. I mean, one of the things I would say is that, there's, for energy, it's like, yeah, the cleanest kilowatts, right? The one that never gets used. And so efficiency is, 40%
Right.
of all these emissions cuts that are needed for a lot of these net zero scenarios. So
Right.
in, the UN climate summit a couple of years ago, COP28, they set a goal for doubling efficiency improvements by 2030. So that this is sort of a goal within the energy space and the climate space that they need to be making, kind of trimming the fat around how energy is being used right now. Um, I don't think, I think that you're seeing different regulations and different kinds of countries and provinces that are going into place for those. And you're also seeing what might be, encouraging corporations to make those efficiency improvements. And is there new
Sure.
rules and regulations? And so that's really, I think, what's determining a lot of that right now, where you're seeing that happen. I mean, to the point you were asking about what's holding us back. I mean, there's for most of the transition towards a clean energy system, which it's mostly about finance and supply chains and permitting. I do think that there's clear issues around efficiency that you're seeing improvements here and there. And I mean, even in the U.S., I mean, there are a lot more around sort of the green buildings and certifications, that have come up more and more than I think they used to. But again, I definitely, like every time I've gone to Europe, and I was just there a couple of years ago, where I noticed that the thermostat was sort of, you know, have a level of automation built in it that we did not have. I do not have in my own
Yeah.
home. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, anytime I'm in the U.S. or even Canada for that matter. No, actually, specifically in the U.S., if you're on a summer day and you're in a mall or you're even walking past a store, it feels like it's a different season inside that store. Like, it feels like it's winter for how cold the air conditioning is, and it's
yeah,
always been absolutely mental to me. And so,
yeah,
because the one thing I always want to keep away from is asking people, because I think those of us that are interested in or believe that the climate change is real and we all have responsibility to it. I hate putting it on individual consumers,
hmm
because listen, unless you have two Humvees at home and you're running your laundry machine all the time, you leave your all and you're just the most irresponsible person of all time.
hmm
The individual can only do so much, and I think we really
right,
have to put this back onto corporations and onto governments and have a lot of public pressure to say, like, listen, whoever, Brookfield Management, you own all of these office buildings. Like you said, there should be a thermostat, or there should be
yeah.
eco lights on there that you have to be responsible, or there is a gigantic tax. I don't know what the case may be. And is there? I mean, are you seeing grassroots movements out there that are trying to say these things, or are actually some corporations being more responsible than I would give them credit for?
It's that's a great question. I think that what you're seeing a few things with efficiency where there are like consumer led movements of people who want to consume more efficient products. And I mean, there is
Right.
some of that is government regulation. When you see certain kinds of efficiency logos on certain products, some of that may be branding. Some of that may
Yeah.
also be because there's new rules in place. And so they're going to have to do that. And there's been a lot of, I think, actually just innovative sort of startups and other kinds of initiatives to see how they can improve efficiency of different kinds of the grid and different kinds of energy usage. Because it really depends. I mean, this is one of the interesting things is what energy you're using. It's not all necessarily coming from depending on where you live from one power plant all the time. So depending on what
Right.
time of the day you're just turning your lights on, might actually, and maybe it's coming from a clean energy source at that particular moment. And so there's actually people working on tools to say, can we figure out how to like turn it on,
Mm.
turn on your refrigerator and get, that to cool itself down a little bit more when it's in the clean energy period. There's a lot of
Right.
that. There's a lot of ideas out there around how to improve those efficiencies. And I think people are working their way through them. But there's a lot there. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely those consumer movements. There's definitely regulation pressures, and I mean those. In the U.S., it's sort of here today, gone tomorrow. It depends on if there are rules, if they're passed by Congress. That it depends if they're happening at the state
Right.
level and federal level. We saw that with EVs. I mean, I think that there's a lot of this. That's a lot of those efficiency standards depend on what the policy environment is.
Mm.
But I think there is an appetite for people to have some greater efficiencies or just be more knowledgeable. And I think a lot of it feeds into people who are just if they recycle willingly, that's something that is there's kind of a precedent for that within the culture as well.
Right. I mean, that's one thing is where that's a aspect where I try to take my positivity from. My optimism that it just seems there are so many sustainability networks out there, sustainability technologies, and people that really want to make a difference in this fight, right? And so and I don't care if it's activists or corporations or someone who's just bringing their own bag to the grocery store. Like I really do
Yeah.
think every little bit helps.